Hello and welcome back to Cross Gold again. We're doing something a little bit different today, a little bit shorter of an episode, kind of a bonus treatment we're doing because, some things just require a quick hot take.
Yeah, hot
And we're
take.
just the ones to give it to you.
Cyrus, before yes, we're going to talk about GameStop. We're going to try to chop it up for you. And then we're going to challenge the narrative you're seeing everywhere, how the small mom and pops and populists are beating the house. Because if you've ever been to Vegas, even if you walk out after a heater on the craps table, the house always wins. Cyrus, before we do, you've had a long day. Looks like where are you coming from? Where are you going, dude?
Yeah, well, just got back from skiing late last night. Just a quick trip up with the roommates. Good to get back in nature, and yeah, just now headed off to some work. Headed off to do the Sunday brunch shift at my restaurant. So
very good. We'll need to get into how the brunch shift is different from other shifts and the crowd of the brunch shift. But today we have business to do. So, do you mind if we jump in?
Yeah. Well, to start, that I don't believe in quote unquote finances or investments. But you, as being someone who works for one of the largest investment banks in the world and definitely in the country,
and the best,
you might be able to explain a little bit of the GameStop AMC short squeeze situation that I'm hearing so much about.
Yeah. Okay. So let's try to break this down into three parts. Three parts. One, the short. Two, the buys and the calls. And three, the aftermath. The shorts are taken by the hedge funds, the big institutions, the BlackRocks, the Citadels, the Melvin Capitals, right, where people are professional investors and sometimes professional bettors, and they're hyper good at it. And then you have then you have the calls or the buys by some of the Wall Street bets folks, the mom and pop folks. And then we have the aftermath. And everyone's broken this down in multiple different ways. And so I'm going to go for almost an unexact comparison, but one I think that's most relevant. And we're going to use the Super Bowl. The Bucks.
Because when you say stuff like short and call, that
dude, even I get confused. It's not saying I'm super smart, but it's a different language, sort of like the military, meant to confuse our enemies. So, all right. So the Buccaneers play the Chiefs in this upcoming Super Bowl. Okay, right. And so what I want you to do is think like the points in the Super Bowl are like dollars on a stock, and the game itself is GameStop or the stock itself. Okay. And that's what happens. And we are spectators, and we're not playing the game. We are folks watching and making side bets. And as you know, we've seen our dad make a number of, I think, pretty fairly wise prop bets on football games before. So we can get into it.
Some less so.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So the short is when you think the stock or the game is going to go down. And that's a bet you can make or a trade you can place. And it's not really so much a bet on the Chiefs winning, but maybe it's on the Patriots losing. And then you can see, wow, GameStop.
Or the Bucks, not the Patriots.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Tom Brady will perennially be a Patriot in my mind, I think, for everyone, but you get it. So you see the Buccaneers start to lose. And you see, just like GameStop's stock go from almost $50 within 10 years ago down to almost $5, right? And that's pretty accurate to what it was. And then you go, you know what? I think they're going to probably go out of business. Same thing with the Buccaneers. They're losing by 5. I think they're really going to lose by 25. And so what you do is you look for someone who thinks the Buccaneers are probably just going to lose by 5. Maybe you think they're going to close it out and pull ahead. And you go, you know what? I want to borrow that position from you for until the fourth quarter. And the start of the fourth quarter, I'll give this position back to you. And I might pay a little bit of interest on it, small fee. And you go, okay, I'm just holding my position. I'll give it to you for the small fee. Sweet. And
so why would anyone do that?
Why would anyone enter into a short or lend it to someone?
Why would anyone lend it?
Because I'm just sitting on it, because I am not otherwise using it. It's a way to get cash flow on my position, right? So if I have a ticket or I have a bet that the Bucks are going to lose by or win by whatever, Yeah, and you want to borrow it, might as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the short has two parts and then a later part. And so you take your position you borrowed from me, it's a legal obligation, and you go sell it at market price at the Bucks that are losing by 5. Okay? And then you are a savvy spectator in the game. You know Tom Brady's in his 40s, and he's probably going to start to peter out. I'm not saying he will, but you get it. And then you think they're going to really start to lose bad. And then at the end of the fourth quarter, or excuse me, the start of the fourth quarter, you go back on the market, go into the stadium, and you buy the ticket back. And now, as you thought, let's just say you're a smart spectator. The Bucks are really losing by 20. So it costs a lot less. And then you come back to me and give it to me at minus 20 with a little bit of a fee, right? So I would.
So the reason someone would do that, or would allow someone to do that, is because they just think there's no chance of the Bucks coming back in that situation.
Oh yeah, they think the Bucks are going to.
It's free money to them.
Yeah, basically, right? So you used the only amount you actually even had to pay was the small fee that you gave me. It's leverage and a way to make a lot of money with a little money. It's an option.
Okay.
It's also a way, though, you can lose a lot of money, and that's where we're going to get into. Okay. Because you have so just as a quick pause before we get off the short into the calls and the buys.
Yeah.
So this might sound wild, but there were more shorts on the stock than I think like stocks available in the entire market. And so, and because you can look at that, you can see how many people place short bets, how many people that think the Bucks are going to lose by even more, right? And then you can go, wow, gee, if there are that many shorts or that many bets that the Bucks are going to continue to lose, there's going to be like a temporary increase in demand, and a lot of tickets are going to have to trade a lot of hands really quickly in order to get you to pay me back, or one spectator to pay the person that they borrowed from back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So just to be clear, at this point in the game, it's Tampa Bay is down by, you said 20?
Sure.
Start of the fourth quarter.
That's right.
Everybody, with all the hedge funds, all the big investors are betting on them to lose.
Yeah, well, right. So they like I said, points are dollars. So they paid -5. Now they paid -20. They're making 15 profit. Maybe they make 14 profit because they paid me $1 on it.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Okay.
Now I still have the ticket, so my stock is now worth -15 more, but I still made $1 in profit, and I was going to hold GameStop anyway. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm tracking.
So, but you've got some people like Wall Street Bet, some other people in the stands to go, wow, there's so many shorts on this. You know, and there started to happen a couple fundamental changes, right? So like, I think one of the owners of Chewy bought a big stake in GameStop and invested in it. And the new game consoles are coming out with physical discs, right? And this kind of is a larger trend of GameStop being a part of retail and strip malls, and less of us are going into GameStop to use video games or, playing video games maybe at all. And if we are, we're on the internet, and then COVID and the whole thing, they're like, oh man, this is whatever. But new game consoles are coming out with physical discs. So there are a couple of people made some strong bets saying, you know what? We actually think it's gonna rebound. It's gonna be almost a challenge for Amazon in some particular facets.
Yeah.
Okay. So some people started to buy it. And some people said, wait a second, there's so many shorts out there. This is the Wall Street Bets, folks. If we buy it and have call options for it, then we could actually do the reverse of a short and really create a hardcore demand for this. Okay,
so this is like the rally out, the rabble outside of the stadium watching the game on their tailgate TVs.
Yeah, these are the people that are making hardcore, like Crown and Cokes, and you're like, wow, like,
we're smashing 7 and 7s. We're jumping off tables.
Yeah, they're playing beer pong with Crown. Let's put it that way.
Okay, gotcha.
You should not be driving home. Yep. And so what they do is they say, okay, they're now it's in the second quarter, and they see all these bets placed against the Bucks, and they say, all right, what if and there's a number of different options and exotic options that you can call it towards you or bring it. They go, if it's worth 5 now, or the Bucks are losing by 5, what if the game is tied? I'll buy that ticket from you for $1 if the game is tied, or I'll buy the stock at whatever it is in the third quarter. I'll pay you for the right to do that. And then all the other people who hold the tickets to the game or on the bet, all the other spectators go, it's very unlikely that the Bucks are going to pull ahead and tie, much less win, much less go up by a couple points. So in the instance that it does, I'll give you the option to buy it.
So this is where, the people running the show more or less are like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, sure, you can buy it at that price. There's so little chance of you succeeding that basically your money is already mine.
Yeah, sure. And there are a lot of different kinds of options, right? Where you can, it's a time one, there's a strike price or whatever else, but for the example.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the price starts to go up, right? Or the Bucks start to pull ahead, and then they start to pull ahead. And then some of these options start to be executed, and then the Bucks start to win, and then the people who owe tickets back because at the start of the fourth start to get a little worried and say, well, gee, if the Bucks really start to win, we're going to be out even more. We're in negative territory already,
right?
So they switch to thinking the Bucks are going to win, and they start buying those tickets, which increases the price even more. They start cheering for the Bucks even more, and the Bucks pull ahead even more, right?
Gotcha.
But there's that still squeeze where the rabble outside go, we've never been in the stadium. I'm not going to give you my beer pong ticket. Not unless you pay me $300 or $1,000.
Right. I'm going to hold on to this ticket for a little while.
Right. And then
I like it.
And then you've got the people in the skybox literally negotiating with the drunk crown beer pongers, saying, "I'll give you 310. I'll give you 320," and then I'll take 320, right? And that's some of what happened. Okay, so that's basically what's happening now. It's a little bit more sophisticated in that. Okay.
So that's why all those Wall Street bets people, all those Redditors, just to be clear, are saying hold on to your tickets. Don't sell them. Hold them.
Because people need the skybox traders and observance participants need to fulfill their obligations, right? Because they can know when these shorts expire, or like when the fourth quarter is, or 5 minutes left in the fourth, or whatever, because that's all trackable.
Sure.
So, now that sounds like, boy, one for the home team. The people that have never been in the stadium are really cleaning it to the skyboxers. Stop it. In the sense that some skyboxers lost a lot, but those skyboxers also have algorithmic trading, and they basically know the coaches, they know the players on the field,
they get the injury report ahead of time.
Yeah, this ain't their first rodeo, cowgirl.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, for instance, Melvin Capital closed out their position on freaking like the 27th of January. It's what, like it's almost February now, and so that was like before the stock GameStop stock got to be even $100. So what's algorithmic trading like factoring into this? Well, it can pick up and on trends, on momentum much faster than a human can, and it can almost amplify those trends. So you have a lot of these big investors getting in faster and getting out much quicker when it will or does start to drop, and somebody who's like checking their stocks 3-4 times a day on their cell phone cannot do it in a nanosecond like a formula can.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting too, because I mean, Robinhood, which is an interesting name for the app, and I think steal from the rich, give to the poor. Except obviously, it's become clear like whose side they're really on.
Robinhood, because man, I've watched a lot of interviews with the CEO, and I'm grinding my teeth, man.
Yeah, but like literally, they buy, like, their business model is taking their user data and selling that to the hedge funds for those algorithms to make them more accurate.
Interesting.
So by you participating on Robinhood,
let's talk about Robinhood, right? Because they definitely pitch themselves as like the champion of the mom and pop investor, you and me, who maybe are investing for the first time, and they have a really cool feature in which, like, right now, if you wanted to buy an Apple stock and it's hundreds of dollars, you don't have hundreds of dollars on one share, and you didn't want to like put $100 on one share, you only wanted a small piece of one share because that's all you could afford. You could put $50 if you wanted in an Apple share, and they'll sell you a fraction of a share. I don't know if they were the first ones, but they're, if not the first, one of the first to be able to do that. And that's really cool. And they have a lot of research and analysis, and they present it in simple ways for folks. And they also allow you to share or create trades for free. Just as a quick side, even trading for free, like you said, if they're not charging you then they are selling you.
Then you're probably the product.
Yeah, that's right. in which way? And then, you know what, they're also lending out any kind of money. Like, let's say you put $100 in your Robinhood account and you've only invested 90 of it. That other 10 has been lent, probably to other people at higher interest rates for margin accounts and these sorts of things, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Things to be aware of, people.
Yeah, there we go. So even if it's free, you're the product. So
yeah.
Robinhood gets online. I think there's a great CNBC interview as GameStop stock is rocketing and CEO's pumping his chest saying, we're Robinhood. We are enabling, liberating the investor. People come to us and say, you're basically the first person that's treated me like an adult, verbatim. Cool. Well, not but like 24 hours later, does Robinhood freeze buys for some of its traders? Now, what's that mean? So they can still sell. So if I'm if I'm me and I'm trading through Robinhood and I have 100 shares of GameStop, I can still sell it to anyone in the stadium, but I can't buy any more of it, which is really weird, right? Because the hedge funds or the Skybox participants can still buy. In fact, they need to buy because they still owe the freaking other people they borrowed that ticket from.
So it's not like trading was stopped on.
No, it was just the buys for the small
guys. Robinhood stopped trading on their platform.
Okay, so like Webull stopped it for a little bit as well. But here's what's really interesting, because if you look at the CEO and what he said, basically like, okay, so if you are a brokerage or like a third party and you're buying and selling stuff that's super volatile, you do have to keep a lot of collateral in reserve. It's an SEC requirement. That was one of the functions of my former jobs, to kind of know that like, okay, you need to keep a lot in reserve in order to like remain solvent and have liquid like cash, right? It's just the more volatile things you trade, the more you need to keep in reserve. It's a good regulation. Well, here's the problem. The reason Webull had to temporarily stop trading is because they were using a third-party clearinghouse. But Robinhood just built their own in-house trading house. And just other trading platforms like Schwab and TD Ameritrade, who have their own in-house, did not freeze trading or freeze the buying. So
they got a major advantage.
Well, yeah, man, but here's the thing, though. It's like it's either Robinhood was being run so poorly. Now they did have to go raise like $1 billion in overnight capital.
Yeah.
Or they were really punishing. Well, I wouldn't say they were punishing. They were definitely advantaging some people who wanted to buy that weren't restricted, like hedge funds, the Skybox folks, because they were only allowing their people to sell. And I guess that's just the CEO's tone has been so unempathetic, basically calling, hey, this is a highly technical problem, but it's really business as normal. And oh, by the way, we don't think this will ever happen again, but it's normal business operations. Like it's
this is once in a lifetime, but also
I've even seen some of the like the newscasters who I think want to be like, accommodable to him go, I think you're missing the question. Nah, I want to drill in on this with you. It's like, check this guy out. And so what frustrates me is
worth noting, by the way, that he and his fellow founder and CEO both donated to the head and ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee, Maxine Waters, and I think Patrick McHenry is the ranking member. Both maxed out personal donations to campaigns and donated to their PACs as well. Now, that's just business as usual, I think, for people who run financial trading platforms or organizations. But worth noting that when you do that, you have a little bit of extra access to those people.
Yeah, and let's start to get into that. So we talked about the short bet. We talked about the buys and the calls, and what sort of drove that. And that a lot of people use the term short squeeze. That happens when all the people who shorted it feel squeezed because the prices go in the opposite direction they expected. And then we have like this aftermath here, right? And we said, well, okay, some hedge funds have algorithmic trading. They're going to pick up on any kind of trends way faster than you or me because it's done automatically. And they've got, double doctorates creating these algorithms. And now we're talking a little bit about like what's been happening in sort of the fallout. And this is what I think I can see your frustration as a socialist to like the way it's run. And it's one of the reasons why I was like so kind of like pro Trump, in his first election, was because he admitted it. The game's fixed. And this is kind of the stuff that frustrates me. So an example,
which is something that most people already know, I think, on an intuitive level, but it helps to have someone.
You know
put
what, man?
words to
Here's
it.
one so I just gave you an imperfect encapsulation of why I think Robinhood CEO is poorly communicating. Two,
Yeah.
I still can't get on Robinhood right now. I had a friend come visit and he showed me he can't buy a fraction of a share of GameStop right now. They are keeping small people from buying fractions. You can buy a whole share, but they've actually cut your ability to buy half of a GameStop share because they don't want a lot of little people getting in and like incrementally edging up the price for the hedge funds that still need to close out their positions. Now, you could say, oh, well, those are really expensive and we would have to cover those trades and keep more on collateral. But we just kind of said that Schwab and TD Ameritrade aren't doing that. And they have the same kind of in-house clearinghouse process that Robinhood does. So it's just not really good logical comparisons that make someone that's just like interested from the outside a little confused. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like, at least if you're betting in a casino, the house may always win, but they can't change the rules of craps while you're playing and be like, oh no, actually sevens do this now.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this seems like.
No, that makes me a quick side. You remember last time we were with Dad? It was what casino were we with? And we were with a guy that went on a heater at a table.
El Cortez.
El Cortez. If you're ever in Vegas, don't go very far past the El Cortez or El Cortez. It's kind of seedy, but stop by the El Cortez.
They got $5 blackjack buy-in. They got
God bless them, right?
That's
blue collar gambling.
It's a good time.
That's how we were raised. So
that's where the action happens.
That's where the action happens. And we did see a guy go on like a 30-40 roll heater. We were on that table. So
yeah, it was a good time.
Different story. That's a different story. So here's one thing that kind of burns me, man, and we can kind of close it out or start getting to close out is a lot of people, Wall Street Bets, folks who were using Robinhood trading platform, when their trading got frozen, or particularly the buying got frozen, they went on to Google Play and gave it Robinhood 1-star reviews. Total terrible service, whatever, unempathetic CEO, whatever else.
Sure.
In an effort to abide by their guidelines, to prevent systematic, organized campaigns against a company to bomb its ratings, Google removed 100,000 1-star reviews. I've got a problem with that because if you're gonna do that for Robinhood, who changed the games during who
changed the rules during the game.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Even if you were poorly run, then you should protect somebody like the My Pillow guy, who is just getting bombed out. One, because his political views and some of the things he advocates is sometimes kind of crazy, but at the same time, man, you're defending Robinhood and not the My Pillow guy.
I am loath to defend the My Pillow guy, but I am much more loath to defend Google's totally unaccountable ability to just manipulate a company's value like that. I mean, that's pretty insane when you really think about it. They have almost unilateral ability to affect the rating of a company. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so you
and no, who's going to tell them to stop? Who's going to tell them they can't do that? Clearly, no one's been interested in doing that.
So this is where we're at, man. We see any kind of hedge fund that you think this was like a huge win. It definitely shocked him. It's definitely going to probably factor in another piece of trading analysis before they start making huge, multi-million billion-dollar short calls or long calls on stocks. They're going to see what the people on subreddits are doing. But again, the house is going to win. The house is winning now. And so this is not a fundamental change in trading dynamics, even though it would be sweet. It's going to make the algorithm smarter. They're going to be looking across these websites now for ground swells of this type of, activity. But it's just going to make the rich people smarter, which will make them richer.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty good example of how playing into the system, the system always benefits from it. I mean, as we said at the beginning of the episode, the house always wins, and that's because the business model makes it have to be that way. And if it looks like they're not going to win, you know, it's like if you're playing blackjack and they see you counting cards and you start winning enough, that's not illegal, but they can kick you out of the casino, not let you play anymore.
Yeah, the one thing is, like, you could make an argument that the Wall Street Bets people colluded and did that unfairly as well, and that might be a fair argument. We don't want to say that that wasn't, because even if hedge funds do that, that's illegal, whether or not they get prosecuted or whatever. You get it. We didn't really get very far into like the mechanisms and the reason for the stock market and those sort of things. We can let that go. You did tell me 10 minutes ago you needed to be done. You have a dead car battery. Is that right?
I have a dead car battery that I have to charge, and I have to be at work in 20 minutes. So yes,
Oofed.
I have to get off.
Do you have something to charge? Oh, I should let you go.
Yeah, I'll probably beg my roommate to take me to work. We'll see. Anyways,
okay.
Prayers up, Jason. Thank you.
He gets a shout out. I love you, dude.
I love you too, man. Thanks for helping me out there.
Right on. Have a good day. Yeah.
You too. Bye.